Nice. You want to bring it in? You want me to bring it in?
You got it.
Welcome to the Post Up. This is your weekly NBA show where it's supposed to be three friends, but for 3 weeks now, it's been two friends. Cover everything from the association. Dolan's turn for vacation. It was mine first, Dylan's second. Dolan is now on vacation. So we are running Dose Man booth here. My name is Michael Willis at Carefree Willis on Twitter. I am joined by our resident Celtics fan at DillBond00. What's up, dude?
What's up? Just finished my ice cream. Had a solid Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the daddies out there. How we doing, Michael?
Doing pretty solid, dude. Dylan and I have known each other since 5th grade. This show is going to be fucking awesome. Don't need Dolan. Never needed Dolan. See you later, dude. Hope he's probably having a. Did you have a good vacation?
It was a good vacation. Yeah, it was my first vacation with my 1-year-old, and it's a little bit different than normal vacation without a 1-year-old. So it was still a blast. Love spending time with family, but it was not. It was fun, but not relaxing. So let's put it that way.
That's what Dolan and I had that conversation last week. For those of you that have been listening, we appreciate that. Check us out everywhere you get your podcast. Dolan's out on vacation with his 2, potentially 3 in the future children. Hope you're having a good time, dude. Tell Laura I said what's up. But we got basketball to talk about. Dolan and I hit on it last week. Dylan was obviously missing that we just covered. The Nuggets, Dylan. If you know, then you know. Go to our Twitter at the Post Up Boys. I put up a video of Dylan and I, boots on the ground in Denver, celebrating the Nuggets. We've been here since day one. Right. What are your thoughts on the Nuggets winning this whole damn thing?
It was impressive to watch, man. I want to give myself some flowers on this one because I picked them beginning the playoffs. Obviously, I picked the Celtics, but it's like I had a good feeling since like February. I had a good feeling. Yep. So good on me. I know what I'm talking about. No surprise here, but it was awesome to watch, man. Jokic is a very good basketball player. Let's just really no other way to put it. He is phenomenal. I was talking to my brother this weekend. He was talking about how he's boring to watch. I'm like, you just really don't appreciate basketball if you think he's boring to watch. Yeah. Chad's probably gonna listen to this, and sorry, Chad, you suck.
Yeah, you do suck, Chad. His wife's awesome. Chad sucks.
No, it was like dominating performance. Like I said, the Heat we're a 8th seed, so it's like good on them to get there. Like Dolan and I talked about this, Michael and I were just talking about it, but it's like I feel like the Heat are getting nothing but praise for losing the finals. But it's just like if it was any other team, they'd be getting fried they'd be getting killed, you know? Yeah. And especially Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler did not show up, and then he's just getting all this like, oh, good job for being there. I'm just like, that's just ridiculous. Fry him like he would fry any other star. Tatum got fried after losing the finals last year. Yeah. Fry him. This is what social media is for, is to magnify the mess ups.
I think what it is, and I don't disagree with that at all. I was not as surprised as Dylan kind of is. When we get the 3-man booth back next week, when Dolan comes back, Dolan was blowing our group text up, stunned at the lack of responsibility put on and accountability put on Jimmy Butler. I wasn't super surprised, and it's not everything I'm about to say is no disrespect to Jimmy Butler, but I just don't have him as a top tier star in the league. That I put a whole lot of that. He didn't have a good finals. He had one good game, but he did not have a good finals. He should be getting more criticism. But I am in that camp of, good on Miami for even getting there, because I've come on this show multiple times saying how I'm not interested in this Miami team this past year. I wasn't a big believer in Miami. Was not a believer in Denver. I still owe Dylan a steak dinner at Golden Corral. You can't wait for that, dude. But I'm not super surprised about the non-Jimmy thing. I just don't think Jimmy moves the needle. We talked about this beforehand, but Jimmy's not on the same. It's just probably disrespectful to him, but he's not on the same level as like a Tatum or like, I don't want to say a Curry, because obviously Steph Curry is like one of the fucking greats of all time. But I just don't put Jimmy at that top level. But you're right, man. Like this Miami Heat team has been getting looked at like, good job for getting there twice, But it's a weird one. It's a weird one. But Denver, man, so good. Murray, so good. I've said it for weeks now. We keep bringing it up. There's probably a bunch, 7, 8, 9 other guards in the West you take over Murray, but maybe it needs to start being more of an argument here, man. This guy balled. The entire Denver team balled out. Jokic sleepwalks into these numbers. It just looks effortless, man, what he's doing. Such a fun player. Did you like the whole thing at the end when he was trying to go home? Did you think it was funny, or were you annoyed?
I wasn't annoyed. I think it was. I wonder. I mean, he doesn't seem like the type who's going to play. Like exaggerate anything like that. But I think it's funny, and it makes me like. It's been talked about a lot. I think you guys even mentioned it too last week. But it seems like he's definitely the type that he just doesn't seem to care about basketball. He thinks of it just as a job.
Yep.
Which is like
it's fine.
It's fine. Do you, man? That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's almost impressive how good he is when he's just. Only thinks of it as just the job, but I mean, and he might not think that. Yeah, I think. I mean, he was probably ready. I mean, he's a long way from home. All of us that are born and raised in the USA, it's a little bit different, I guess, for us that are here all the time. If you're not used to it, so
yeah, those foreign boys just want to get paid and win, and he's got paid and he's won. So I mean, I don't know. There were a lot of people getting annoyed at it. I thought it was fine, and then it just kind of got more annoying. Did you see him talk about the parade when he goes? Did you see that whole video of him saying,
it's not till Thursday?
Yeah. Well, that one, but then he's at the parade and he's like excited. And he goes, you all saw me say, he's addressing the crowd. He goes, you all saw me say I wanted to go home, but I fucking love parade. I thought that was funny, man.
Funny. And then he ended up going to Vegas with him after the parade, which is awesome.
Yeah. Listen, Dylan put a beautiful text out in the group that I try not to do inside jokes on this show, but there are some people that will get this. Jokic looked like Danny Dolan dancing at a club. Is one of the funniest things I have ever, because it's spot on, man.
Nobody responded in that group chat when I said that. I
really
can't even believe. Yeah, you or Dolan didn't say anything when I said that. I thought it was so funny.
It was so funny. I died laughing when I read it, man. I thought that was hysterical. But that's spot on. Jokic is such an average white dude in these kind of situations. You know what I mean? Like, has no idea he just looks awkward doing anything. But Denver's an awesome team, man. They're set. I mean, Mike Malone wants to run it back. You see LeBron post about Malone, because Malone kept talking about the Lakers. LeBron put up a thing on Instagram because he was over in Europe. He said, "I was minding my business over," and paraphrasing. He goes, "Minding my business over in Europe, and I see y'all got a lot to say, and y'all here for a second. I'm the king," or something. I don't know, something like that.
I did see something about that. I started watching it, then I didn't want to do it because I heard LeBron talk too much. So I'm good. I'm set.
I love that. I love LeBron. I don't. This isn't going to be a rivalry, I don't think, but it is interesting. But shout out Denver, man. They first one ever, first time in the finals, first championship. That city, Dylan and I have had boots on ground. That city's awesome. That city is a lot. It was a blast. Yeah, such a good time there. Shout out to them. Good.
I thought we were going to get stranded in a park overnight when we went hiking one time, but we didn't. We made it out.
Dylan, the most. Put anybody, the most average East Coast in the mountains, two guys went hiking in vans, like unbelievable stuff. Dude.
It was like cold. 60 degrees outside. We get to the top and there was ice. Like what?
Yeah, everywhere. I mean, the amount of times Dylan and I fell is absolutely ridiculous. Man. It is. Shout out Denver. That's a solid city, man. I've been there a couple times. I'm going back. So everybody from Denver, when you'll see me in December, get hyped, because that place is. I love going there, man. And good for them. Jokic is fun. This Denver team's fun to watch. They're going to re-sign Bruce Brown's what's looking like. Shout out to him, Piston legend, KCP, Piston legend. A lot of people, this doesn't matter for everybody, but there's a lot of Detroit fans that are like, look what happens when we let our good guys. None of these guys would be this if they stayed with Detroit. We were just not a good team then. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, don't be upset about this. Let them win. It's hype. Good for them. They don't give a shit about us. I don't know why they care. I don't know why we care so much about them. Anyway, no more Piston talk. Let's move on. Well, Piston talk in a minute. We dropped a bomb today.
Dropped a bomb today.
Gave us. Thank you so much to the Wizards and the Suns for giving us a little bit more to talk about. The finals has been covered a whole lot. You done on Miami and Denver before I move on?
One quick question.
Yeah.
Do the Nuggets repeat?
You know what's funny is I asked Dolan this last week. I said, where were the Nuggets at in like preseason favorites? And they were very low. My answer is no on that. I
It's
do
hard to
think
repeat.
it is, man. And I think we're going to get into this now. You're looking around, and I think everybody's looking to get better. Like there's
Yeah, they'll
like
get better.
the names that are being dropped to be moved are pretty substantial names that are moving around. Now they have to figure out the fit and all that stuff. So, and Denver's already a good team. Like we've already seen it, but it's so hard to repeat. And, you look like an idiot if you're, running around screaming for it and they get bounced first round. I've become a believer. You were spot on. Dylan's been on the Denver Nuggets train since we started this podcast, before we started the pod, but on record since we started the podcast. Good team. They'll be running it back with the entire squad this coming season. I think the Warriors will give it another chance. I don't think Sacramento. I don't know. We'll get into that in a future time. No, the answer is no. I don't think the Nuggets run it back. I think, surprisingly, somebody out of the East is going to do it next year.
You said Boston's going to win? You said Boston's going to do it? I agree. That's weird. We're on the same page on that one, Michael.
I do not. All right, let's move on. The Phoenix Suns and the Washington Wizards dropped an absolute. Sorry if you can hear that in the background. My garage door is being opened by Ashton. The Phoenix Suns and the Washington Wizards dropped an absolute bomb. Bradley Beal traded for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and a couple picks. How do you feel? We're from Richmond, Virginia, so DC is close. None of us have claimed DC as like a favorite team. I know it's close, but DC to Richmond is not like a hometown. I've never felt that way. I don't think Dylan has either. No. But do you like Brad Beal?
I liked him. I mean, I like him. I don't think he's a difference maker anymore until we can see a healthy season out of him. But when he is healthy, he's good.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. I am interested to see how it works. I can't believe the Wizards couldn't even get at least a first-round pick for Brad Beal.
Crazy.
You said they're either going to trade Chris Paul or buy him out. So they pretty much just got a second-round pick, a pick swap, and Landry Shamet for Brad Beal.
Yep.
As I heard this the other day, they got a bag of Skittles. That's what they got.
They did. And honestly, Chris Paul's gonna. He's not staying in Washington.
I did say they're shopping him, but it's like still his contract's absurd. Like you're not going to get much for him.
You're not. And he's going to pick. He's going to get bought. He's going to get bought out.
Bought out or traded. Yeah, he's gone.
So at the end of the day, you traded Brad Beal, who I don't think is a difference maker. I'm right there with you, but I think he's worth more than Landry fucking Shamet. Like I don't dislike Landry Shamet, but that's such a. I don't know if it's a good deal for Phoenix either, the way that their cap is set up. Now, I think everybody, Dylan and I have talked about this. We texted about this off air. Somebody will figure it out, that part, but you don't have anybody on the bench now. They have
they don't. They have 5 players under contract.
Five.
And with the 5 players, they're already over the salary cap. They're over it.
By a lot. By not a little bit.
Yeah.
By like 40 mil. Like that's not a little bit
crazy.
Of money.
Yeah,
it is, man.
I think Ayton's getting traded this offseason. You have to,
for sure.
You got to trade him for pieces.
But what's he? What are you getting back? We'll touch on Washington in a second. Let's touch on this Phoenix then. But, the fit with Brad Beal. I think you saw this past season Washington try to run a Brad Beal point guard thing. I don't think it worked. I like Devin Booker more as a point guard, but I think you're losing a lot of what Devin Booker is when you make him the main ball handler. So I don't see the fit here at all. I do love it. I got to be honest. I do love it. I hope it goes terribly wrong because bring Devin Booker home to Detroit, baby. Need it. Monty Williams in town. I need it. Let's get it. Let's get this going. He needs to fail so bad. But you're looking at a fit here. I don't see how this works at all. KD, Book, and now Bradley Beal, all guys that don't force up any threes. You don't have any floor spacers there. Ayton's down there in the middle. He's going to go. Got to go. He has to go. He can't stay. But what are you getting back for DeAndre Ayton? He didn't make a great lasting impression the last time we saw him on the floor. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think the trade I saw, I don't know how accurate this is, but I just happened to see it on Twitter today, was Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for him. And I think that's solid. You get a Buddy Hield come off the bench, get some shooting, and then you have obviously Miles Turner stretched to the floor and a good defense, but I feel like that's almost too much for him. So like I feel like Phoenix had to give up a second round pick or a pick swap or a first round pick or something too
I think
to make
that's
that happen. But
I think it's fairly even because Buddy Hield plays zero defense,
yeah,
and
that's true.
I'm a big Miles Turner fan. I think Miles Turner is he's a good piece on a good team. Like he's
He
one
is
of
a
those.
good piece on a good team. He can
Yeah,
play defense. He's
loves
always
that.
top 5 and block shots, and he can shoot close to 40% from three. So it's like,
He
what else you want?
he'd fit in perfectly on the Celtics, dude.
He
That's what
made
he does.
eight. He made 8 threes against the Celtics last year. Eight,
He did.
eight. He scored 40-something points.
It's
It's
crazy.
insane.
I'm
It's
a big.
insane.
I think Miles Turner on a good team. I think you're gonna hear a lot more about him. I think he can be a very good teammate. I like Miles Turner. I think that would be a good move, but this fit with just even if that happens, even if like they figure out that eventually they're going to fill out the rest of the roster. Such a weird fit, man, for Phoenix. We'll see how it goes. I hope it fails because blow that bad boy up. Is Kyrie can't join now. My pick
No
weeks and
way.
weeks and weeks ago was Kyrie was going to walk to Phoenix, but they can't pay him. There's no way.
No, they're not going to be able to pay anybody. Like, even when
Nobody.
they lose Aiton's contract, they're still going to have all these just minor role players. Like they have their main pieces already. I don't even know what the money situation looks like for Buddy's contract and Miles Turner's contract. I didn't look into it that hard, but I mean, I'm sure they're making decent money. I remember Miles Turner got a decent contract a few years ago. So
Yeah, maybe
but,
losing that 8. I mean, they're already over, so maybe losing that 8
yeah,
and 1 will help out a
yeah,
bit. But I'll tell you what, they can pay us. We'll suit up. I'll tell you that right
that's
now.
right. Hey, I'll ball out.
That's
I'll go
right.
out there and shoot 19% from three. No problem. Let's go.
Zero problems. Let's all over to Washington. How bad they're going to be so bad for years. I mean, there is almost no hope for the Wizards to be anything for the next couple of years. Well, I looked up as soon as this trade went down. They got sixth. I think they have the sixth pick this year. They're going to find
no, they don't have sixth.
8. Is it 8?
Or yeah, I think it's 8. Orlando has 6.
Yeah, that's right. It's 8. It's Orlando has 6 and 11. It's 8.
Yeah.
They don't have a very. We're going to get into the draft in a minute. We'll talk about when this trade went down. I looked up immediately. This is super early, but I looked up. I googled what do the next 2 drafts look like, and apparently 2024's draft is not very good. 2025's is not very good, and 2026 is the one that could possibly be good. It's a long time away. There's a lot of kids, so like I'm not gonna. But what an awful time to rebuild. If that's the way it works out, like what an awful time to rebuild.
What draft is Bronny going to be in? That's next draft, right? Or the one?
Could be in next draft.
Okay.
Be in next draft. Like that's he could stay and he can come out in 25. Like that they could get Bronny. He's
going to play. He's going to stay in college so he doesn't have to play with his dad.
Well,
he's just wait out till LeBron retires.
Listen, if the whole LeBron Bronny team up thing happens, set me up for let's get Washington to be the worst team and make that happen.
Absolutely.
Right up the road from us. Are you kidding me?
I'll be for sure. I'd be there.
100%. That's what we need, man. But this doesn't look good for Washington. Would you have paid Beal last year? He got the deal just this past offseason.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you let him go for a free if you don't, but I mean, you got him for Landry Shamet.
Yeah,
so.
Looking at the deal they got, yes, I would have let him go for free. But they didn't know that was going to happen. It's so easy to look back. Hindsight's always 20/20. But
they probably got screwed from that new deal, that new collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, the new CBA is they're going to throw, and like that's the thing with Phoenix. Like the CBA, like it starts July 1, but it doesn't fully kick in until next year. So it's like they can pretty much run it with Ayton this year and not getting too much over. But he for sure is getting traded at least by next offseason, so they can get out of that second apron. Actually, they might not be able to. I don't know. Anyway, we don't have to touch on that right now. But
it's crazy though, man. Like I said, this Washington team is going to be very bad. They're going to be a very bad team for a while. They don't have anybody. If you're awful. If you're a team that likes Kyle Kuzma, Danny Avdija, you could probably get him on the cheap right now. So
yeah,
good for you. It's an interesting one. Let's move on to another guy. Dolan and I talked about this last week, but I do want to get your take on this, and then this will lead us into the draft a bit. Damian Lillard situation over there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the camp of it's time to trade because it doesn't seem to me that anything you can get is going to make Portland really contend out in the Western Conference. But there's a lot of conflicting reports, but a lot of reports now that Dame is going absolutely nowhere and they're going to build around him. I don't think that's the right move. What if you want to know what Dolan and I thought about that? Go listen to last week's episode. It's titled "The One Without Dylan." What are your thoughts on that? I think that you missed last week. What do you think about Dame in Portland? Should he go? Should he stay? he's given them. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Go ahead, Dylan. What do you think?
So last night, Michael and I talked on the phone for about 15, 20 minutes, and we touched on this, but Michael does not remember that conversation.
That's on me. I'll be better. That's on me. So sorry.
But, I'm definitely a team trade Dame. I just don't, like you said, what you can get, I don't think that is going to make them a contender. There's no point. But I did, being a Celtics fan and all the Jaylen Brown talk, I did think of a trade I would like if Scoot goes second. And because Portland has 2 first-round picks this year, if Scoot ends up going second and Brandon Miller is their pick, I would be okay with the Celtics trading Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart to Portland for the 3rd pick, which would be Brandon Miller, and then the 23rd pick and Anthony Simons. I think that would be a good fit because the Celtics can get Brandon Miller, who could develop him. And I see a lot of resemblance with Tatum in there. And even if he ends up being like not great, he's 6'9", who can really shoot. So it's like he spreads the floor well. And then I think that Derek White can make up a little bit more. Like Derek White can be more without Jaylen Brown on the court. And I think that Anthony Simons spreading the floor with him being such a good 3-point shooter is better than Marcus Smart. So I think that
you're getting the GOAT back next year too. Nilo.
And Danilo's be back. He's about to ball out. Exactly. But I like that fit a lot for the Celtics. It's so easy to say that. I don't know what it is, but I tell you what, if I'm Brad Stevens and Scoot goes second, I'm calling Portland because and this is why I'm for Tatum. I'm for Jaylen. I'm just sick of hearing about it. I don't want to, how many conversations I've had about can they play together? I'm sick of it. It's the same situation with Marcus Smart. I like Marcus Smart. I think he's a good fit. I'm sick of his roller coaster that he brings because sometimes he plays really well. Sometimes he plays horrible and he flops all the time. It's just like, I'm sick of it.
let me jump in on that whole, and this will, again, this is going to lead us into the draft talk that we got coming up here in a second. The Tatum and Brown discussion. These two guys, we need to nip this in the bud. It's lazy discussions. These two guys can absolutely play together.
Yeah,
they went to a finals. And they went to an Eastern Conference Finals, and they were, Miami beat them. They could have gone to 2 finals in a row. Like these guys can play together. It's the pieces around them that but that's where your focus should be. But you can get a lot. I mean that look around, looking around them. The only person that's untouchable on Boston is Tatum. That's it.
Tatum.
Everybody else can go. So this I have seen this a lot. It kind of blows my mind. Like sometimes I look at that stuff. I'm like, do you guys even watch? Like Tatum and Brown ball out together. And they go deep in the playoffs when a lot of your favorites are sitting on the couch watching. So these two guys can absolutely talk. You don't want, as Boston, they're not in the top 3. But would you? I'll save it. Let's move over to the draft real quick. There's nobody else. There's a lot of other. No, I'm not. I'm going to stop real quick.
Cool. Keep going.
Zion Williamson. I'm trying to think of all the names that are being linked right now of trades. I'm going to say this and about the Zion thing. I'm not a Zion guy. I think he's a freak athlete, phenomenal talent. I'm not writing this kid off at 22 years old. I mean, he's got face of the league talent. Like we've seen it, but the man's only played 110 games or something like that. He's not played many games, and he's been in the league for 3 years now. So that is a massive concern. Bo-Berry biscuits, we say it every week. Those things are good, man. Love them. There's a lot of talk about trading Zion, and I think that you saw Charlotte. Charlotte came up this week that Charlotte said we don't want Zion. We actually want BI Brandon Ingram. I kept thinking Brandon Miller. They want BI, and I think that's such a. I think that does kind of foreshadow that they're looking at a Miller type in the draft here. We'll get into that in a moment, but I'm not surprised that they don't want the headache of Zion. I don't think many teams want this headache. This kid's not done anything illegal, right? Need to say that. Like, a lot of people crucify him. He likes porn stars. Like, it is what it is, dude. Like, do your thing. But there's so much drama behind Zion. And a lot of reports came out this week that he doesn't have any relationship with his teammates. He doesn't talk to the ownership. He doesn't have any relationship with the New Orleans Pelicans. If I'm the Pelicans, get rid of this guy. You have a good
fresh
team.
Start. What?
Yeah, just let it. Yeah, clean yourself of this because it's just been so dramatic ever since you got this guy. Just let him go. Where are you at with that? Are you trading Zion? I'm not letting. If I'm New Orleans, no one's touching Brandon Ingram. I love him. I think he's a great
Yeah,
player.
Brandon Ingram's good. I do think that they might need to. They're at a point where they're gonna have to make a decision on one of them, I believe.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that right this second, obviously, but I mean, everything going on with Zion, it's just like, and like you said, especially all the reports that came out, he doesn't have a relationship thing, and he pretty much has done nothing for that organization rather than
Nothing.
cost them a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like
nothing.
His upside. I mean, if they end up trading him and he does become Zion, what everyone thinks, then wow, it's gonna suck. But like right now, get what you can for him, especially if you can get one of these top 3 picks for him. Yeah. Definitely do that. Definitely 100%. Do that.
If Victor Wembanyama was not in this draft, Scoot,
yeah, I love this draft.
They are gonna love this draft. They would easily go 1. It's not even a debate. These guys would easily be number 1 overall picks. Now, what does that mean at the end of the day? We've seen a lot of picks, be bust, but there's legit talent here in this draft. Very so good high end talent in the lottery, and we're going to cover that here in a second. But I just think it's time, man. Move on from Zion. I don't really care where you send them. It's just not needed. You do. It's with Ja too. It's a little bit. It's significantly less with Ja, but with Zion, it's every conversation is off court. It's like we never talk about this guy, and I'd be tired of it. And I think at the end of the day, he clearly does not want to be there. You can't not sign. You brought it up a lot with Jaylen Brown. You can't not sign that deal. Like that's generational wealth that there's someone's offering you. Yep. You have to sign that deal. So I'm not people saying, well, if he didn't want to be there, he wouldn't have signed the deal. No, he didn't. He signed the deal because he likes money. Like fair enough.
He likes money. He was not going to get that money anywhere else.
No, nowhere. So and
it's so easy in today's NBA. It's so player driven. It's so easy. Like, request trade. Like look at Bradley Beal. He literally wrote the trade up for himself. Like granted he had the no trade clause a little bit different, but it's just that's what the players do now. That's why there's a new CBA. It's like the players want to dictate where they can go.
Man,
so it doesn't even matter. Contracts don't matter
at all. T's and P's to Washington Wizards fans, like the actual legit ones, because you just brought that up a great point. Last year, you signed Brad Beal. You're probably sitting there thinking, no trade clause, guys here for forever. We're going to get going. We're going to build. Year later, he's gone. Like it's such it's like to your point, player-driven league. He can go anytime. So Zion wanted money. He clearly doesn't want to be there. Let this man go. New Orleans has a good team. But people don't talk. New Orleans has a very good, fun team. Get one of these
young talent. They got some young players too.
Young. So see if you can get one of these top 6. I don't think. I think if you're trading Zion, at the end of the day, he's faced the league talent. I think you need to go try to get at least the top 4 or 5 picks. But that's if one of those teams want him. You're obviously not getting number 1.
No,
and we'll talk about that. Let's dive into that now.
That is a situation for Portland, I think, where like if Zion can be Zion and they trade that 3rd pick for Zion, that's where Portland could be a contender if Zion can stay healthy.
The thing is, the 100% massive asterisk. The thing is, does Dame want to work with Zion? That's the thing. If you're selling to Dame, hey, we went and got Zion. He hasn't played. And Dame's one of those guys that does not do load management. So like. He's very vocal about non-load management things, and you're giving him a guy. But you're spot on. Like that's one of those that Zion obviously likes Portland. He works out there in the offseason. He lives there in the offseason, I think. If I'm wrong about that, somebody correct me. Go to our Twitter at the Post Up Boys and let me know.
I think he was doing rehab there last summer. I think that was the big thing. I think he was doing rehabilitation there. I think so.
Spends a lot of time. There was a video that came out of him like bigging up Portland at one point. But there's a lot of reports about New York. Who really knows? But that is you're spot on. It's time to go. Let him out. He doesn't want to be there. You guys are tired of it in New Orleans. Let this man go. Go get some stuff for him. If you can get a top 5 pick for him, this draft is loaded. Go get a pick. Let's talk about the draft, Dylan.
Before that,
go ahead.
I was listening to Locked On NBA had a very in-depth mock draft, and this is non-Zion, by the way. I'm talking about Zion, not the draft. But I listened to it, and they were talking about. I learned a lot of stuff, and one thing about. Apparently the Miami Heat is one of the most strict organizations, and they're like the only organization that does a body fat index check every Monday. Send Zion to Miami. That's what you got to do. They're going to whip this man into shape. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, send him down to a strict, heat culture. Everybody
heat
talks
culture,
about.
Exactly. Show him some heat culture. That's what Zion needs.
Exactly. Send him down there because he does, man. It's one of those. This is probably not appropriate for the pod, but I think this is like where we're going with this kind of stuff. Is we don't, we get these guys that are so secluded growing up and have no like real social interaction because they're in private schools or they're in.
It's going to get worse, dude. COVID's
going to get worse. it's gonna get way worse, man. Put your kid out there in the world. You got to get embarrassed sometimes. You got to get embarrassed. It's the way you grow.
I
right?
spent most of my life being embarrassed. So.
That's right, dude. That's right. Dylan wore Superman underwear until he was 18 years old. Like, it's all right.
No regrets.
I
had Oreo bed sheets.
That's an absolute fact. Again, I've known this man since 5th grade. He had Oreo bed sheets. It was Oreos on clouds until he was like 18 years old. Like, be embarrassed. It's all right, man. It's all right to get embarrassed a little bit. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about, speaking of embarrassment is this damn draft and the Pistons getting absolutely robbed from this. How people aren't talking about this, I can't stand this. It blows my mind that no one's talking about this. Dylan knows me very well. I am not a conspiracy theorist in the slightest, but this is mind-blowing that San Antonio was just giving this guy. Everyone goes, oh, they do everything the right way and they're so lucky. Timmy Duncan, the Admiral, David Robinson, I don't know why I just forgot his name, and now Victor Wembanyama. They've been handed these guys. Good on them. I mean, Victor is going number 1, right?
Absolutely.
All right, we're not going to talk about that. All right, Victor's clearly going number 1. We all saw the way he celebrated in the in that lottery thing when it was San Antonio.
He was pumped. Yeah,
he was pumped because they are massive Spurs fans over in France because of all the French players they've had. Let's move on, Victor. Congrats to San Antonio Spurs. It comes every 20 years. It's Victor's supposed to be the guy this year. LeBron was way back in 2002 or 2003. Jordan was in the 80s. 4. All right, so it comes every 20 years. Jordan in the 80s, LeBron in the 2000s, and now it's Victor in the 2020s. We'll see. I'm not gonna sit and lie to you. I've not watched a minute of a French basketball game, so we'll see.
That's weird. Why?
I don't know. Let's move on to the other two. The big talking point that everybody is who's next. And again, we said it a moment ago. If Victor Wembanyama was not a thing, Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson would absolutely be going number 1. It'd be a big battle of who's.
It would be intense. It's not often you don't know who the number 1 pick is. And if Victor wasn't in this, it'd be like, oh my God, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Scoot or Brandon? 100%. It'd be super interesting.
100%. And if San Antonio was still picking number 1, it's still a topic because they can use both of these guys. Yeah. So it really, I'll start first because you've got a bit more. I think you're a bit more passionate about it. I love both. I think both of these guys are so damn good. We're going to talk about who we think could be the biggest bust and who's going to be outside of Victor, who's going to be the best player. I love. We'll get to that in a minute, but I love Scoot Henderson and I love Brandon Miller. I think these are two very talented guys. Brandon can get you a bucket at any point in time. Scoot absolutely can, but the 3 ball is a bit concerning. At 2, Dylan, Charlotte Hornets. Who are you picking?
This is a tough one. I think I've mentioned this before. The one you weren't here. I think Charlotte is very interesting team because they're one of the ones who went full tank pretty early. So especially you don't know what's happening with Bridges when he comes back. Like, what's he going to be?
Yeah.
So they're a team to me that they're only a couple pieces away because they were like LaMelo is a very good basketball player.
Very good.
Bridges is a very good basketball player.
Very good.
So
very good.
They're one of those teams that they started tanking so early. They might be pretty good when they're healthy and actually playing. So I think that I personally, and I think the biggest difference right now between Scoot and Brandon Miller, I think Brandon Miller can make a difference on a team right now. I think he's almost plug and play. You put him on any team and he's making a difference. I think Scoot's upside is higher.
Yeah.
I think that if he can be what everyone's talking about he's going to be phenomenal. Yeah. But he also has a bigger bust potential. I don't think there's a chance. I think regardless of what happens, Brandon Miller is going to have a place on any NBA team. He's going to be there. Scoot being 6'2" and right now doesn't have a jump shot, there's no guarantee that he will be. Yep. So his bust potential is higher.
Yep.
But I think you go, if I'm Charlotte, I'm going Scoot because.
You going Scoot?
I'm going Scoot.
After all that, you're going Scoot?
After all that, I'm going Scoot.
All right.
And the reason why I say that is that I do think that Scoot, he's going to, in the long run, will be better and he's going to be an actual, perennial all-star. I think there's a very good chance of that happening. And I think Brandon Miller has a smaller chance of being that good, but he has a better chance of being like Scoot's not going to be a role player. He's either going to be phenomenal or bust, I think. And I think
agree.
Brandon Miller, like his floor is significantly higher than what, if that makes any sense.
I think the worst Brandon Miller will ever be is RJ Barrett. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like and RJ Barrett will always have a job in the NBA. I love Scoot
a
Henderson.
better shooting one because like he's already proven
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like this is no knock on either one of these guys. I'm stunned. I am a bit stunned you're going Scoot. I thought after all that you going Brandon Miller. I think good.
I don't think that. I think what you do is you take the best player available, and I think Scoot is the best player. I think that obviously LaMelo is great, and it's going to be interesting to see Scoot off ball. But LaMelo was a 40% 3-point shooter last year, so he can shoot and he can play off ball. And I think that you just get. I think if you're Charlotte, especially with them getting with Michael Jordan leaving their new place, let's just get as many great players as we can. And we'll figure out what to do with them later. That's my mindset, and I think Scoot is going to be. He's got that dog in him too. Like he
does.
When he went off, he scored 28 against Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, you think you're the best player in the draft? Nah, bro, that's me." And he did it to him. He did it. And so I think he's a good free throw shooter, which like that usually translates over to being a good 3-point shooter most of the time. So it's like you think that he will get that shot. There's not many players who don't develop that shot, So especially in today's NBA, the coaching's so much better, so much gooder. Wow, that's good English. There you go.
Grammar.
Yeah, the best.
Alex's dad will be so disappointed.
So disappointed. Sorry, Bobby Disease. Yeah. But I think Charlotte goes Scoot, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch and see what they end up doing in the years to come. But I do think they go Scoot.
So I've got I like everything that Dylan just said. At the end of the day, it's all about opinion. That's all it is who is it's either fit or best player available. Like those are the two routes you're going to go down. For me, I'm going down fit, and the reason I'm going down fit, I'm going Brandon Miller. The reason I'm going down fit is because you're spot on that Scoot is a great free throw shooter, and his game is getting to the basket. So he gets fouls. So he can make up for that bad 3-point shot by getting those 3-point plays. But with Brandon Miller and what you said about my team for next year to watch that I think is going to be like the biggest jump of a team is Charlotte, because I think they realized they were in a bad spot early. LaMelo's injury, Bridges being out, that they started tanking very early in the season. And I think they actually do have not a title contending roster, but they have a playoff contending.
Play-in. Yeah, they're going to be mixing the play-in, I think.
100%.
If they could stay healthy.
100%. I think they're the bottom end of the Eastern Conference right now, but if Toronto's getting blown up, I think that Charlotte could absolutely jump into that 7-8 area right there. I think they're that good. And the lowest is, they'll be in the play, in the lower play-in teams. But I think Charlotte could be a very good team next year. And with that, go get a bucket. Go get Brandon Miller. I like Brandon Miller, man. I think he is like you said, I don't think he'll ever not have a job in the NBA. I think he'll always be there unless his mindset's not good and just doesn't want to. But skill-wise, he'll always be there. Scoot is – if Victor wasn't here, I think that the next player with the highest ceiling is Scoot, and it's not even like the ceilings for everybody is not comparable. Scoot is the guy. He's so good, but he is, man. He's the biggest bust potential with that, and that for me is why if I'm Charlotte, give me Brandon Miller. Let's run it out next year. They're going to be Charlotte will be a certified bucket next season. They take their over because they are in terms of points scored, because they are going to be so much fun to watch, man. Go moving on. Portland.
Hold on. I got something for you.
Go ahead.
If I'm Charlotte, looking at Scoot, and you and I talked about this earlier, and how Scoot would be such a good fit in Houston. Let's trade back to the 4th pick.
Yeah.
Because you can Amin Thompson at 4. Fit that in with Charlotte. That's a good fit right there.
Agreed.
Getting a good 2 guard right there. I think that's what I'd do. If I'm Charlotte, I'm calling up Houston. Hey, what do you think?
Yep. Give me something good for the number 2 that you have, Adam. I think Scoot's best fit, and in terms of fit overall, I think his best fit is down in Houston. I don't think Portland's it. I don't think Charlotte's it. He'll be very good at those teams, but I think his best fit out of the top there is all the way at 4 at Houston. I think that's something that if Houston could do, your boy Ime might be looking at that, but I think we'd see the best of Scoot playing along those boys down in Houston. And again, you're getting a guy in Ime Udoka who's a very good head coach.
Very good head coach.
That
miss that man. I really miss him.
I bet you do. That culture in Houston's about to change big time. Let's move on to Portland. They got number 3. For me, I don't think that. I just said it. I think, and if you've been following along our Twitter, we've been posting up potential
Pun
picks.
intended.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
been posting up potential picks. Go to our Twitter at the Post Up Boys. We put up day 4 days before the draft. We went backwards. Stay with us. Go read through it. It's a lot interesting. Talking points. Get involved with us over there. I had Scoot dropping down to 4 only because of fit here. I think that's the best spot for him. If I'm Portland though at 3, it's trading Damian Lillard. It's keeping this pick, and it's getting a very good. I love Jarris Walker. I think this guy is one of those that you're going to come in, immediately plug and play, get going. We're not going to run down each and every single pick because we'll be here for hours and hours and hours. We're not going to make this a 2-hour long show. But I'm looking at that Portland one right there. If you're Portland, right? Which one? If let's just say Portland's picking 2, would you rather have Scoot or Brandon Miller? Because I don't think Scoot or Brandon fall out of the top 2. I mean, top 3. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So you say that Scoot's best fit is Houston. I think Brandon Miller's best fit is Portland. I think if I'm Portland and I would almost take Brandon Miller over Pascal Siakam, if I'm Portland. That to me, because like I said, he's going to translate. He's going to be good. He's going to have a place in this league in years to come.
Yep.
And he's a perfect fit with Dame.
Yes.
If Dame was 5 years younger, this would be wow, this is going to be the future. We're watching this. But he happens to be 33, 34, where then I could see why he doesn't want to wait on a 19-year-old to get
what's sad?
Into his prime.
You know what's sad is when Portland were at their I don't want to say best, but you know what I mean, with Dame and CJ McCollum, Brandon Miller is the guy that they needed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Like if this had happened, like you just said, like a couple years ago, Brandon Miller was the guy that Portland needed all those years back when they were running Dame and CJ McCollum out there. I think Brandon's best fit easily is Portland. I just can't. And if he falls there to Portland, you take him, and that's when you say goodbye to Dame. Again, we've talked about it to every extent we possibly can. Pascal Siakam and Damian Lillard in the West is not winning you a title. It's just not doing it. I would love to be proven wrong because I love Damian Lillard. And I think he's a dog, but it's just not. Dame said it a bunch. He doesn't want to rebuild. So if I'm Portland, I'm keeping that pick. I'm making a draft. I'm choosing. You can send Dame and Anthony Simons out. Then you've got either Scoot and Shaden Sharp, which is that's a fun backcourt right there. Or you've got Brandon Miller. Or you got exactly. Or you keep Anthony. You got Sharp. You got Brandon Miller. You got a lot of stuff that you could work with there. That could be a very fun team, man. This Portland team. We've got Houston at 4, Detroit at 5. I want Cam Whitmore. It's a couple guys I want. I want Cam. I want Jarris Walker. I want Taylor Hendricks. I like these guys. Cam Whitmore for me. I think he is. This is going to sound disrespectful. I think his ceiling is Melo, but he's a scorer like Melo was. He's just that's really all he does. He doesn't pass very well. Doesn't play very good. He plays good defense, but team defense is his thing. I just think he's a bucket getter, and that's exactly what the Pistons need. At 6, who's at 6? Orlando.
Orlando's at 6.
Who's 7?
Pacers.
Pacers. Who do you like, Dylan? I'm going to leave you the floor now. I'm not, like I said, we're not going to run through each and every single pick. We've done that on our Twitter. Go check us out on Twitter at the Post Up Boys. Who do you like in this lottery? Who are? Give me a couple guys that you really like that stand out to you, and I'll give you a couple of mine.
So I really like the Twins. I like both of them a lot. I think they both have one thing I like about them is they're both very good on the defensive side.
Yep.
So I think that's good. I think they have a lot of room to grow, but I think that they're both, especially Amen. Obviously, he's the one who's more pro ready right now, but I mean, his brother's not far behind him. So I think they're both combo guard. I think Amen was more of a point guard. Then correct. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how to say his brother's name. Asur.
Asar.
Asar. It's
Yeah.
such a crazy name.
Yeah.
So I think with his being a potential playmaker, I like where he's going to be. I said I think he would be great in Charlotte. Obviously, they're not going to draft him at 2, but you could trade back. That would be good because he's just that overall. I think almost like a Jamal Murray type. He's going to be able to score. And I mean, Jamal Murray averaged an assist in the finals, so it's like he can distribute if he needs to too, which is awesome. One of my favorite picks in this, and this is late lottery. You put it on the thing. We've talked about it. Is Nick Smith out of Arkansas? I think he got hit with injuries early. He was supposed to be. I think he was the number 1 recruit out of high school. Mm-hmm. So this is like not a nobody name. Like I was talking to Dolan, and Dolan was like, "I'm not even sure who that is." And I was like, "He was the number 1 recruit out of high school. Him and Lively were 1 and 2, I believe." And I think Nick Smith, because I don't know if you watched a lot of Arkansas basketball, but they had very, very good guard depth. And I believe that because he was plagued with injury early on, the other guys ended up, who's it? Anthony Black was one. So I think like Anthony Black ended up being like just coming out. So it's like he was taking a backseat to him, and he had some shining moments, and he just never kind of got in the mix at all. I think Nick Smith is going to be a steal, whoever gets him. And I think he's going to be a great basket. I think you put him in the mock draft. I think you had Oklahoma City taking him.
Yeah, I had OKC taking him. It's projected that he might fall out of the lottery, but we've got him very much in the lottery, and whoever takes him is absolutely getting a steal.
Yeah, I like I said, I can't say enough about him. I think it's almost like a Kyrie situation. Kyrie, I think, played 4 games in college because he was dealing with injury. And then obviously he was still number 1 overall pick. So it's not a fair comparison, but he didn't have any career in college basketball. And I think Nick Smith is going to be similar to that because he can score at all 3 levels. He's good size. He's 6'5", good athleticism. He's going to be a dog. He's going to be very good in the NBA. And I'm willing to bet all of Michael's money on that. He will be very good.
So you like those guys. I'll give you a couple that I like. I love Jarris Walker. Obviously, I told you guys I want Detroit to draft Cam Whitmore. I don't want this trading back nonsense. I mean, we should have had the number 1 overall pick. I don't want to lose.
Trade up.
Pick. Yeah, exactly.
Trade up, get Scoot.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want Scoot either. The Thompson twins are very good. The fit doesn't make any sense to me in Detroit. I know there's a certain couple guys out there pulling for Asar Thompson to go to Detroit. Makes quite literal negative sense to me. But at the end of the day, you and I have talked about this a bunch. I want whoever Troy and Monty Williams want. If they think it's going to fit with guys that I don't like, then I'm so on board because I'm riding an absolute high right now. But I love Jarris Walker, guys that I like. I love Jarris Walker out of Houston. I think this guy is an absolute stud. I think Zach Randolph. I think he's a guy that comes in, plays very good defense, and he can get you a bucket. And I like the fact that he went to Houston. He could have gone to Duke or anywhere. I'm a big fan of this Jarris Walker guy, man. I think for me, I'll say it. For me, this is the guy that is with Brandon Miller that is always going to have with mindset. Let's make sure they don't go down the John Morant and Zion Williamson thing. But with a good mindset, these guys will always be in the league. They will always be a spot for them. I think Jarris Walker is an absolute stud. I really like Anthony Black. I watched a lot of video on this guy. I think Anthony Black is probably the smartest guy in this draft, point guard too. I just think it's a very good. If Orlando gets him, it's a name that's not being talked about a lot, and I don't think people get a lot of respect. But Anthony Black is a very good player, and I had Orlando taking Amin Thompson, which again that'll be very good for them. But if Orlando if they get Anthony Black and Grady Dick, what a name! If they get both of those guys. That is exact. Grady Dick should absolutely go to Orlando. There's no better fit in this draft than Grady Dick to Orlando. Floor spacing, best shooter in the draft. That's another one I like. Great. It's funny looking at this because I think Dylan, you can speak for you, but this is the first time in a long while that I felt a lot of these guys in the lottery are very good. This is a stacked lottery. Keontae George is looking like one that's going to fall out, but I'm a big fan of Keontae George at point guard. What do you think about this year's 14 picks, man? One of them is going to be bad. One of them is going.
There's got to be some. I think that it's almost not fair to say because this is in the last 3 to 4 years. This is probably the draft I paid the most attention to.
Yeah,
the last 3 to 4 years, And this is, to me, the best draft that I can recall, at least going
Yeah.
into. It's just like there's so much talent here. And I'd really like some people's feedback on that one who's really been doing a lot of research in there and where this ranks among our recent. Obviously, the best draft of our generation is LeBron, Melo, D Wade, Bosh draft. But I really, and sorry, didn't mean to disrespect you.
Yeah. Watch your
sorry.
mouth.
Yeah. And I'm interested to think where going into it before this draft happens and we see these players in NBA jerseys, where this ranks under at least the last like 5 or 6 drafts. Because to me, it's got to be the best. But I'd like other people's feedback on that one who's obviously been paying more attention than I have.
Yeah, let us know on the Twitter at the Post Up Boys. Go find us. Let us know, because I've struggled with. Am I just excited because I'm stoked to do this podcast with you and Dolan every single week, and that's why I'm just getting more into it, or is this actually a stacked draft? This draft has so many guys that especially in the lottery, that are so good. Give me who do you think out of all these guys that we've just talked about, who do you think is the biggest outside of Victor? This is all outside of Victor. Who's got the highest? Who do you think is going to be the best player after Victor?
It's a good question, Michael. I think that Scoot will be the best player. Obviously, we got to put an asterisk on Victor because he is Victor. He's Wemby. But I think Scoot will be. And I think that's why he's going to go second, personally.
It's hard to not say Scoot. I also think it's Scoot, but I don't think like I said, I also believe it's going to be Scoot Henderson is going to be the next best player in the draft. I pay attention to Amin Thompson, man. If he develops a 3-point shot or a good jump shot, like, this guy is going to be scary good, because he's a dog. I mean, that guy is a dog. It's fun. It'd be awesome if, like, when they got drafted, if like Amin got drafted like 4th to Houston, if Asar went up, nobody would know. We would never know if one of the how hilarious would
they
that
were
be?
talking. The podcast I was listening to was talking about that with Keegan Murray's brother. His twin is in the draft, and he's projected to go late first round. So the Kings draft him, and how confusing it would be on defense. Because which one you got? Because they look the exact same. One of them's left-handed. That's like the main difference, but that's just super funny.
Yeah, it is. And I think Amin Thompson's another one, man. Keep an eye out for, because this guy's dog. His brother's very good too. There's a lot of, again, man, so many very good. Taylor Hendricks is another one of these guys that there's so many guys in the lottery that their floor is an NBA player. Like, their floor is a very good role player. Taylor Hendricks could be a 3-and-D kind of guy, man. Like, but his ceiling could be significantly more than that. It's just a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of interesting stuff, man. Draft coming up this Thursday. Tune in next week, because the boys 3-man booth will be back. We'll be covering that entire draft.
That's going to be a fun one. I'm very excited to see.
Stoked. It's not going to be better than this episode, because this episode's the best one we've ever done. But that next week's episode is going to be very, very good. Last things on the draft. What do you got for me? Anything?
So I think we should touch on potential bust. Who's the biggest bust?
It's hard.
It is hard. And again, it's like I mentioned a little bit ago, I think that Scoot has potential of being a bust, but I just don't think he's going to be. But I think that, and I'm not saying this just to slight you, Michael, even though it's kind of sounds like it, but I think Cam Whitmore might not be as good as what people think. And this is, and this might be like being kind of critical, but I see, to me, he's one of those players that's just pretty good at a lot of stuff and not crazy dominant. And I think that it kind of almost reminds me of Anthony Bennett type, where it's just like, I don't know if he will pan out because, and I'm not gonna bet any of your money that he's gonna be a bust. I wouldn't do that to you, but that if I had to pick someone that I think, it's so hard because we just talked about how much talent is, but someone's not gonna be good. Like, they're not all gonna be good. So it's like, if I had to pick one, he's the one who I think I like. And also Villanova was not good this year, so it's just.
Is that Jay Wright leaving? Is that, there's a lot of things there. I'll give you a surprise. Outside, we talked about it earlier. That we thought that Scoot has the biggest boom or bust potential, and I believe it's Scoot. But to be fun and be a part of the conversation, it is Cam Whitmore for me, and you're spot on. There's nothing. I love his upside, and it's pure upside. And I think the Pistons are in a point where we can take pure upside. And I think that you're spot on when you said he does a lot of good things. But I don't think his ceiling is he's never going to dominate at one thing. I don't think he's ever going to be all-star potential, and if he is, that is his absolute ceiling right there. I think right now he's the best fit in Detroit of what we need exactly. It's a good defender, good team defender, and he can shoot lights out. Can't get his own shot, can't pass. And Monty Williams will be looking for a guy who's quick ball movement, and that's why I like Jarris Walker. And, that's a whole nother conversation about the Pistons stuff. That's why I like Jarris Walker. I think he's just a pro ready to go. But Cam Whitmore for me is the biggest outside of Scoot is for me the biggest boomer bust guy. I think he'd come in and be a great offensive player, but he could also come in and be. We keep saying it. One of these guys, a couple of these guys are going to be bad. Some of them are going to be bad. You don't ever see 14 all-stars at a one draft. So someone's not going to be good. Okay. You're going to get Johnny Flynn, right? Like you're gonna. It's just going to happen. And it could be Cam Whitmore. I love the upside here. And if the upside reaches what it could be with this Detroit team, that fit is phenomenal. So that's where I'm at.
Let me ask you, you being a Pistons fan, do you think Pistons should or I guess will draft for fit or best player available?
It's a good one, man. I was very upset about. I watched that whole hour-long Monty Williams press conference introductory. Not a single one of these reporters asked him any of those kind of questions. It was a lot of, how'd you get? I don't care how Monty got there. I want to know. I do, but we could write about that.
He's
I want to know.
There. Yeah, he's already there. Why does it matter?
Why would nobody ask? Hey, this you got a draft coming up. Like, at least ask him or Troy. Like, what do you think? Like, no one asked this guy anything. So I don't know. It's weird because it's Monty's first time in Detroit. This is Troy Weaver. I think that Troy Weaver has proven to be very good at drafting. I mean, what he did to get Jalen Duren. That's why I'm sad. That's why I said at the beginning of this. I want whoever they want. I think that they will go with best fit because I do think the only thing that I took out of that Monty Williams press conference, one, he came for the money, and two, Troy Weaver believes that we're a play-in team, and I don't know how. I would love that. I don't know how. That is very, very, forward thinking right there. I think they're going to draft for best fit to get us moving because I think they think that we're ready to go, and I think a lot of that is going to be dependent on Cade, Jaden, Isaiah Stewart, and this whatever we do with this pick, whether it be trading out or if we go get somebody. I think a lot of it's going to do with those four guys. The center spot's going to be a rotation all year long. So I'm not against trading Bogey and trying to get another pick here because I think this draft is loaded. But I think we're going to go for best fit available. But like I said, whatever Casey and Monty want to do, way on board. Anything else you got for the draft?
Yeah. I'm just like you just mentioned center position. Besides Victor, is there any centers in this first round?
No, that Duke kid.
Lively.
Yeah, Lively. Other than that,
Lively.
not really. They got a lot of what everybody says all the time. We need a 3-and-D guy. A lot of the 3-and-D guys floors 3-and-D in this draft. So go get him. This is your chance right here to go get him. But no, there's not. It's a weird one. That center spot.
There's not many true point guards either. They're all combo guards.
We're finding out. I mean, Dylan and I have been. Dylan and I are 30, so we're seeing the change in the NBA is pretty wild, going from these big massive centers to what a center is now in Victor Wembanyama, this ball handling crazy
7'3" guy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Anything else before we move on?
On the draft?
Yep.
Nope, I can't think of anything.
Cannot wait for Thursday. Be sure to tune in next week, 3-man booth. We are going to cover everything from the draft, possibly give out some grades there.
It'll probably be like a 6-hour episode, but
that one might be long, honestly, because we got a lot to say. Because that one's Dolan used to be because Dolan was a fan of tanking like that. Don't forget this. Everything he gets, he deserves because that's what they wanted. So for years and years and years, this was Dolan's Super Bowl, tuning in for the draft and doing pre-draft stuff. Dylan was like this as well when the Celtics were stockpiling picks all those years ago, and now the Pistons have been here. So we are certified. Pistons have been shit for 11 years. We are certified professionals at this stuff. So tune in next week for that. That draft coverage is going to be absolutely electric. Before we move on, I want to ask you Celtics conversation. What are you doing this offseason, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? If your world, you can do whatever you want. What are you doing? Perfect world.
Oh, man. That's so hard.
You running it back or you trading them out?
I'm running it back. The part of me that's sick of having this conversation wants me to potentially just kind of almost restart and trade Jalen and see what we can get. I mean, I mentioned that Brandon Miller trade. Like, to me, that's awesome. I think it helps with the new CBA. You clear out so much space. Like, you don't even have that second paid star yet because you got your potential futures on a rookie deal. So to me, that just makes so much sense, especially with the new CBA. But at just looking at it, you get significantly worse losing Jalen and gaining a rookie. So it's like, that's not smart. But you got to sign him. I think that's I don't think you're better without him. Like, it's easy to, like, grass isn't always greener type deal. You know,
it ain't.
So I think you're going to have to sign him. Jalen's not going to say no to $50 million a year.
Or he's an idiot.
Or he's an idiot. Absolutely. Especially like how we just talked about, like, players can dictate where they go now. It's like, it's not to the level it used to be a few years ago when Chris Paul couldn't get traded to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that they'll sign him back. I do think they're going to I think Grant Williams is gone. As much as I don't want him to leave, I think he's gone just because of the new CBA. I think if it wasn't for the new CBA, they would run it back with pretty much the exact same roster except with a healthy Danilo Gallinari. I think that would be what they would be doing. They would probably trade Peyton Pritchard to do him a favor to give him some playing time. But if it wasn't for the new CBA, I think they're forced to clear some space to set up for that. And I think it'll be Malcolm Brogdon because he just won 6th Man of the Year. He's got high value. Who would you rather have, Marcus Smart or Malcolm Brogdon?
I'd rather have Malcolm Brogdon, but is Malcolm Brogdon a starter?
Yeah, he is. I think the asterisk on Brogdon is his health. He's the only reason why it's like maybe you can't get before him. And I think that's one of the reasons because he was healthy, like Eastern Conference Finals when they needed him.
Do you think, Mike, when I asked that question, Malcolm Brogdon is absolutely starter quality.
Absolutely.
But are you getting more value from Brogdon when he comes off the bench?
Yes, I loved his role. He was instant offense. But the weird thing about his role is that he never closed games and he did not play well with Tatum and Jalen on the court. He was ball dominant. And that was like almost his role. It was like, hey, when you're in the game, we want you to get your shot. Like, that's what you like. Yeah. He played significantly less minutes he has in the past, but his usage rate was so much higher. But if it wasn't for the fact that he got hurt in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they would possibly keep him. But it's like with someone who has such a bad history of not staying healthy already, I think that now you can get something for him. And I think what they're going to do, and I've been looking at rosters trying to figure out who would be a good fit, and I'm not sure. But I've said the name Jeremy Grant multiple times. I'm not saying him, but a player like that, a stretch 4 where you can, a fairly younger one where he can come off the bench or start, because Al Horford is obviously aging out. I want Horford to come off the bench personally, but I don't know what they're going to do. But I think that with Grant walking, you trade Brogdon and get a potential stretch 4 type. Like I said, I haven't really looked, but there's got to be a stretch 4. I thought about John Collins. I think his value is low right now, so I think maybe Malcolm Brogdon and a 1st round pick, you might be able to, and a sign and trade with Grant Williams or something like that, because the Hawks have been looking into Grant. So I think that's a potential option there to get John Collins, but still his contract's strong too. So it's like, I don't know if that makes sense either. So there's a lot of places they can go, but I do think they will end up trading Brogdon.
You nervous this offseason?
No, I think that the Celtics are going to be in a good spot next year. I think the biggest thing, we haven't talked about this at all, but Charles Lee and Sam Cassell getting hired for assistant coach for the Celtics was massive. I could literally talk about the Celtics all day, and this is not a Celtics podcast, so I'm going to try to kind of pump the brakes a bit. But
it's absolutely not. Did I that's definitely that Cassell comment is an interesting one. I'll save that one for another day. I think the reason I asked that, the reason I opened that door is because I think out of all the, maybe not all of them, but for right now that I can think of all the playoff teams this past year, I think Boston had the most interesting offseason.
I agree.
Because what is going to happen there? Because you could be looking at a spot where Boston does not walk into next year better. And it's not that they're going to be worse, but they're not better while everybody else has gotten significantly better. And I'm wondering about Boston, man. I'm wondering what's going to go on there with Tatum and Brown. This all, again, I said it earlier, this whole Tatum and Brown absolutely can play together. They made it to a NBA Finals and Eastern Conference Finals. Like, cut that shit out. Like these guys can play together.
Yeah, they can play together. I agree.
All right, let's move on. We'll finish this off with a bit. You good?
I'm good, dude. I mean, I could talk Celtics for another 5 hours, but I'm going to save all that pain for another day.
I know you could. Let's go this or that. This one's given to us by our good friend Dolan, who is chilling on vacation. Hope you're having a good time, dude. This is the very first one of our this or that for this week.
All right, so today's trade kind of triggers something in my head for today's this or that. It's more from a team perspective. Would you rather have one superstar and great depth, two superstars and good depth, or three superstars with no depth?
I think we see it all the time that role players. We just saw it with this Denver team. That
We
role
did. Yeah, I was
players.
about to say. Yep.
Yeah, these role players when it is a star driven league, and the stars get you to the finals, and stars can take over and win you a finals. Absolutely. I want to keep depth. I don't know the answer to that question. I want to keep as much depth as possible. Give me two guys with good depth, and you just saw it with Denver. I think you can win.
Absolutely.
It's very much
and look at the flip side with the Heat. Their role players didn't do anything, and that's
exactly
why neither did their stars. Bam played well, but it's
exactly. So give me two star players in good depth. I don't think one star player in good depth will get you anything,
unless you're Dirk or Kawhi.
Exactly, and you're looking at you're quite literally looking at that with Damian Lillard. I don't think one star player in depth gets you anywhere. I think two star players in good depth, man, can get you somewhere. So that's the answer to that question for me. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. I think we've seen it time and time again. Like, you need to have the depth. I don't see how the Suns are going to work without an actual point guard. Like, none of them are LeBron James. LeBron James is the point guard, but he runs offense better than as good as anybody in the league. Like, none of them are LeBron. So I don't see how they're going to do it. And I think it just comes back to like you need to have those role player that depth, and you don't have to have 8 or 9 guys deep, but you got to have a legitimate starting 5 where you have those other guys besides the stars that can come out and win you games. I think back to when Grant Williams scored 27 points and hit 7 threes in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks last year to send them to the East Conference Finals. So it's like you got to have those players that can do that. You got to have the Jason Terrys that can do that. The Fred VanVleet bought out before when he was a role player in the finals. You got to have those role players that can really push. Like, the stars will get you there, but you got to have the role players to win it all,
Yeah, and they have to buy into the team mentality and everything. You saw that with Golden State last year against Boston.
Yeah,
that's not a you saw not Jordan Poole and all them, but you're looking at like Gary Payton and shit like that. Like these guys played very well. Are they going to play throughout the entire year? No, they're not going to play very well throughout the entire year. But you need those kind of guys that are ready to go, good team guys, and when the finals and the playoffs come around. Let me ask you a question. When it's all said and done, let's say that Kevin Durant's career, because I think Kevin Durant's the biggest potential loser in this whole thing with Bradley Beal.
I agree with that.
Because his nobody will look at Bradley Beal and think anything differently. Nobody will look at Devin Booker. There'll be some questions brought up with Devin, but not a whole bunch, depending on his role. But I think this will be time for questions to come up about KD. Let's say that KD retires in 3 years and the Suns don't get to the NBA Finals. Who do you think's career gets looked at better, Melo's or KD? And KD got 2 rings with Golden State. Who do you think gets looked at better? Because I think Melo gets significantly more criticism than KD, and I have absolutely no idea why. Because KD 100% deserves something here.
I still think that they're different in the way that I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this. KD is not a team player, and I don't mean that as disrespectful. It's like he comes out and he does make his teammates better with how good he is, but he made it very clear he's not loyal to anybody but himself. He's proved that time and time again. He just wants to win, but that can be contagious. Like, obviously everyone on the team you want to win with too, but he does not care who you are, and if you're not going to bring him what he wants, then he's obviously doesn't care. He's out. I mean, I don't want to say he's a snake because that's just so much negativity on it, but I mean, I don't really know how else to put it,
Yeah.
And I think Melo is different in a way where, like, I think Melo tried to win and he almost tried to do that, but Melo wanted his team. He wanted to make sure it was his team. Except for when he tailed off towards the end, but it's like when he went to New York, that was his team, and he was in Denver. That wasn't his team. Since, I mean, this is a debate, but to me, it was Steph's team.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously it was KD's team in OKC, but we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
You could say that Brooklyn, it was his team, but I mean, it's like, that didn't work out, so it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
And this is Devin Booker's team, if you ask me, in Phoenix.
I
I'm not
agree.
saying Devin Booker's the best player, but I think he is.
Exactly.
It's his team,
Spot on. Yeah, spot on. I don't think it should ever be a debate in Golden State whose team it was. It's Steph Curry's team.
Absolutely.
I don't I see that on Twitter though. Like that's like when it was going on. Like that is such a wild thing. This was Steph Curry's team at all times. I think it was Kevin's team in OKC and it was Kevin's team in Brooklyn. And now there's a debate between him and Booker. I think it's Booker's team as well. But I think Kevin Durant, man, it's an interesting. Let us know, man. Let us know. Go to our Twitter. Let us know what you think about this whole everything we've talked about today. But at the end, when it's all said and done, if Phoenix do nothing here, where is KD going to lie in this whole NBA world? And he might not give a shit. He might not pay attention. He might move on and do his own thing. And good on him. But such a talent should have had multiple. Has multiple. Should have had multiple in a different way. So
yeah, I agree. I've got a couple here. I'm saving some because I think I like some of them a lot, and I'm gonna save the ones I like for when we have full squad back.
Give me one. We're at an hour and 10. Give me one.
I'm gonna give you one. I've been trying to find comparable players like that are our generation, but we have two generations. We got like the late 2000s, like the 2010s, and then now. So I've been trying to find like some similar players we could critique. And one that I found across that I think you and I both have a lot of exposure to is, would you rather have prime Blake Griffin, prime Amari Stoudemire?
That's a good one, dude. I think because of the Piston fan, it's funny too, is that like, if for those of you that a little bit of behind the curtain thing right here, when Dylan was a very young lad, very young, Dylan was a big time Suns fan.
Big Suns fan.
Before we knew team allegiances, we were talking young. Like Dylan was a big time Suns fan with that Stoudemire. When I met Dylan, 5th grade, it was the Stoudemire and Steve Nash whole thing. But I don't think it was at that time. But later on in life, Dylan became a very massive Stoudemire and Steve Nash guy. And I did not like Blake Griffin on the Clippers. And I fell in love with Blake Griffin in Detroit. And I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I sometimes am part of that unnecessary hate, and that's I'll be better. But to answer the question, I loved Stoudemire. I loved Amari Stoudemire's game. I feel like we got robbed. I'm gonna go on a tangent. I feel like we got robbed. You just brought up Melo and his team in New York. I feel like we got robbed when Stoudemire punched the fire extinguisher or whatever and broke his hand. And do you remember that? And they fucked up their playoff run. Like, I thought that was a very good team, man. And give me Blake. I mean, I'll stay Detroit. Give me Blake. What do you got? What do you got there? Do you like Blake Griffin?
I do. There was a point we don't need to discuss this. There was a point I hated him. Little fun fact is I went to a Clippers Wizards game and I sat right at the tunnel and Blake Griffin touched my hand. So no big deal. But we're still tight, hang out sometimes. But I think that Blake Griffin was a very exciting basketball player. And it's really funny to look at Amari because Amari was not great in New York. No, let me rephrase that. He was, because he was there 1 year before Melo got there. He was great that 1 year. Then Melo got there, and then he fell off.
It was clearly he handed it to Melo for Melo's team, and he took the backseat. Got
Yeah. But I loved Steve Nash, and it's hard to say, like, because Steve Nash might have lifted Amari to be better than his skill set. But you could almost argue the same thing with Chris Paul and Blake too. Yeah, but I think give me Amari Stoudemire because I think he was more than just a dunker. And I think to me, prime Blake Griffin is just him being mainly a dunker.
100%.
I think he did a lot more when he was in Detroit.
100%.
He wasn't obviously just a dunker, but
100%.
That wasn't prime Blake Griffin,
It was not. It was 100%. You're spot on. This is get involved because I am interested in other people's comments and thoughts on this because I think that's a very good one because they did have the same similar career trajectory there at a time. I mean, they were part of the culture change for a team and lifting up a new fan base and all that, and then they go and Amari was good that first. Blake was great for Detroit leading that team. Amari was great for New York leading that team. And Amari went to New York when nobody was playing in New York. And then, they got Blake wanted to leave and Amari got Melo, who was clearly a better
Danilo
player.
was on that team with him, and so was Andrew Fields.
Yeah,
Wilson Chandler, I think too.
Yeah. solid. Marcus Camby, like what an absolute. That's so funny, man. Give me. I like that one, man. Get involved in the comments. Get involved on our Twitter actually at the Post Up Boys. That's a good one there. But I love both those guys. I think they're phenomenal players. They probably don't get talked about enough, but
yeah, I think to me that was like a very good thing. You talked about Amari getting robbed when he like punched a fire extinguisher. I think back to when the Suns and Spurs are playing in the Western Conference Finals, and Robert Horry to this day cannot stand this man because when he trucked Steve Nash into the freaking scorer's table and cut his face, and half of the Phoenix bench gets up and they all get suspended one game and lose that game. I think Sean Marion and Amari both got suspended, and it's just like. That was just so ridiculous. I was so upset. I remember watching that happen. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Young Dylan in his Superman underwear and Oreo cloud bed sheets, just devastated.
That's right. Devastated, dude. Freaking loved Rajah Bell.
That's right. When I first met Dylan, he wanted to get a Rajah Bell jersey, man. That's so funny. I got to find you a Rajah Bell jersey for your birthday coming up, dude. That is awesome. That's the show for the week. We've had loved this, man. We don't. One of the things that Dylan and I wanted to do when starting this was at least get on here one time, just me and him. This was pretty awesome. Enjoy this. 3-man booth next week is going to be absolutely electric. Cannot wait to get that.
Cannot wait. Welcome back, Dolan.
That's right. All the boys have had their vacations, so we are going to be draft happening, a couple off-season stuffs. We should have more trades by then. Should know what's going on with Zion. A lot going on. Stick around. Go follow the show at the Post Up Boys on Twitter. Go find the show as well everywhere you get your podcast. Give us a rating. Leave us a review. Helps us out. It helps us out in terms of how we can get better at this because we are enjoying every second of it. Dylan, anything to say before I close this out, man?
No, man. It was a good show. I honestly thought going into this that it's only going to be two of us. It's going to be a bit shorter. And I was wrong. We're over an hour.
I thought the opposite. I was afraid you and I were going to go on too many tangents and talk about other basketball randomness. I was afraid it was going to go for 2 hours.
We can go for another 2 hours. I'll talk
absolutely.
Celtics.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny too, is when I asked you the Celtics question, I was like, how do I find? Because I want to know, but how do I find a way to keep us at 10 minutes?
That was my bad. I mean, we only touched on the coaches. I could have gone on so much more, but
you caught yourself. So you're fine. Hilariously, the pacifier has ended as we're getting off. That's so awesome.
Darn.
Give me a follow at Carefree Willis on Twitter. Come hang out with me. Talk about the Pistons and what we're doing at number 5. Go follow Dylan. Where can people find you at?
At Dilbon00. I got a lot of Celtics talk left in me, so if anyone wants to holler at me.
Celtics fans, go follow at Dilbon00 on Twitter. Hang out with him. Talk about the Celtics. Go follow our boy at Ryan Props with a Z on Twitter. Just kidding. Guys got enough followers, man. To hell with that guy. Come follow Dylan and I.
If you follow Dolan, come follow us.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
And follow the show. We're 7 followers away from getting to the triple digits on the show. Let's go.
Need it. Thank you all so much for listening. 3-man booth next week. See ya.
3-man booth.